Welcome back to another episode of Grizzly True Crime. My name is Grizzly, and this is your Week 3 summary of the Ronald Anthony Burgos Aviles trial. If you haven't yet checked out the Week 1 summary or the Week 2 summary video, I would highly recommend starting there. There's also a trial prep video, and there's an entire playlist for you. We've been following this case every single day live, watching the morning sessions, the afternoon sessions, and if you ever feel overwhelmed by the amount of hours that it's already been in this trial, because it's a two-phase trial. There was the phase 1 to get to the verdict, right? And there was a unanimous guilty verdict that the jury had decided on. Then phase 2, which is the penalty phase, has been happening now in week 3. And that's all about whether the jury will recommend the death sentence for Burgos Aviles or life without parole. So the state rested, the defense brought on their witnesses, then the defense rested, and we've seen a lot and heard a lot over the weeks. So if you do feel overwhelmed, don't, because if you go to those live stream replays, everything is chaptered out for you. And what that means is if you look in the pinned comments in the description box or you hover over the video, you can see key moments from the day, which I do every day for you as an extra step so that it makes it a little bit easier for you to just navigate through those hours of content. It doesn't mean that other parts of the video aren't important, but if you are pressed for time, I would recommend checking out those moments. And then I've also been making YouTube shorts for you with moments where we as a community all found that to be either a highlight or something important to look at. So check out my YouTube shorts as well if you do want little clips and highlights and things. So I don't know when you'll be watching this. It depends. Are you watching this in the future perhaps, or are you watching it today when I film it? Today is July 16th, 2023, and tomorrow, Monday, July 17th, the jury will start deliberating. So we will probably see jury instructions, victim impact statements, and then the jury will go off to start deliberating. And then we'll be on verdict watch, of course. And man, we can't wait for when that verdict comes in. And when Burgos will be out of his fancy suit and in his jail gear. That's just going to be such a good day. This 33-year-old man, a former Border Patrol supervisory officer, murdered when he was 28 years old, a mother, one of his ex-girlfriends, and their son, an 18-month-old boy. And it was absolutely brutal. This happened in Laredo, Texas. I'm just giving you a brief overview. You can also check the description box just for like case background if you just want to read through that quickly. But he is literally the worst. I mean, we've heard jail calls and emails and just seen a lot of him, and it's just, he makes us all so mad, you know, what he did. And it's just, I can't wait for sentencing, put it that way. I think all of us are like, okay. So I really honestly, I don't care if he gets life without parole or the death penalty. I just can't wait for sentencing. Just get out of your comfortable little cell, because he was in a cell at the Webb County Jail for 5 years. This happened on April 9th of 2018. He's been in the Webb County Jail ever since. And he complained when the guilty verdict came in that he was moved to another cell. Didn't like that. So I just can't wait for him to be moved either to wherever he's going, whether it's life without parole, which will be G3 in the Gen Pop prison, or is he going to death row? Either way, we know he's not going to like it. He's going to be uncomfortable, and there's inmates on the other side waiting for his arrival. So now I just put this up so you could see where it happened, and I'm going to skip forward. There's a case overview from week 1 summary, and we've done this case overview many times. I'm just quickly going through it just so you can get a glimpse of what we've gone through already. We've done extensive map time as well. We've looked at the motive. We've looked at all sorts of things. We've looked at the phase 1, right? Day 1 opening statements. There were also opening statements when phase 2 started. These witnesses, all brilliant. Please check them out. As I say, timestamps are there for you. So now I'm going to skip forward because we're going to look at, this is the last place we were at. Okay, day 8. Death penalty phase. So now we're going to look at day 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Just some highlights in case you haven't managed to catch a lot of the trial. So let's get started with that. So on day 9, Grizelda's sister, Angelica, and mom, Mary, took the stand, and they shared lots of information about little Dominic and Grizelda, about their personality, things they like to do. We learned a lot about little Dominic as well. We saw videos, of him jumping on a trampoline and running and walking and laughing, and we saw his happy birthday video, which he only had one birthday his entire life. He was only 18 months old when Ronald Anthony Burgos Aviles murdered him. And so that was really nice to see some photos and hear more about their lives. And I think the state did a really good job at really bringing to life the victims, which of course helps for the jury to decide what should happen to Burgos. We saw, yes, family photos and videos of Dominic. Angelica said that finding out that they were murdered was the most pain that she had ever felt in her life. Now, some people would say, obviously, but really, the way she expressed it, she was crying on the stand. You could see her heart was absolutely broken. And we really feel for the family. This is a terrible crime. She didn't at the time know that Dominic was also murdered. At the time she heard that perhaps her sister's body had been found, she was in a panic, I need to get there to pick up Dominic. So can you imagine the moment that she heard, sorry, but Dominic is also murdered? Oh, man. So Mary Hernandez said about that March 25th of 2018 incident, he better not have hurt Dominic. And the reason I highlighted that there is because she kind of had a gut instinct of that was the day that Ronald Anthony Burgos Aviles met Dominic, his own son, for the very first time. He wanted nothing to do with Grizelda when she got pregnant. So, man, the gut instinct from Grizelda's mom was there. So that was day 9. We're going to continue. This is not the only of day 9. We're still continuing on. They also showed us photo exhibits of the memorials that are now at the Father Charles McNaboe Park. And they told us that Grizelda's dad, and obviously Dominic's grandfather, he goes there every Sunday and puts flowers there, and people leave teddy bears there and things. And these are photos of where they were found. I believe the one on the left is where Grizelda was found, and the one on the right is where Dominic was found. And this was an area that Burgos actually supervised, so he knew the area very well and essentially lured them there. Jaden, Grizelda's eldest son. So Grizelda had 2 sons, Jaden and Dominic. And Jaden was actually sworn in to testify, and everybody was very much anticipating that. But at some point, the rumor is that he just got a little overwhelmed and scared, which I completely understand. He's 12 years old. But Mary Hernandez said that he started karate classes, he's in the band, and he wants to start playing football, but that he suffers tremendously with PTSD and with separation anxiety. He's always checking on everyone. Where are you? Where are you? Check, because of how his mother and brother were taken from him. Yes, so we saw more pictures, and then on the right-hand side, you can see the defense team at work. So you've got Boggs, Eduardo Pena, and then Burgos sitting there. Day 9, afternoon session. Witness Joshua Nunez, a Laredo PD officer and Grizelda's cousin, sorry that I typoed that, had to help identify the bodies. This is a broken man. Him reliving it, I can't imagine what he went through. He says he never stopped seeing their faces and how he found them. So yes, he seems absolutely broken by this and said he relives the nightmare in his mind every single day and he cannot unsee what he saw. He heard Angelica's name on the radio, and he heard that a woman's body had been found and a baby, so he thought it was perhaps his family, and he went to the scene to protect his family, to essentially be the one to identify them so that no other family members would have to. But it really affected him. It's so sad. And then also day 9, afternoon, lead detective Raimundo Garcia was back on the stand. We heard lots of text messages between Burgos and a female co-worker, Z, from the day of the murders. I know people are on Facebook putting out her full name and pictures and everything, but we don't do that here. They specifically censored the name in court, so we're going to stick to that. And so a female co-worker named Z, right? Now, Burgos was actually sexting 5 minutes before, it was before that as well, like up to an hour before, and then 5 minutes before, he murdered a mother and child. I mean, I'm still speechless. We also learned on day 13, so that was a good moment, learning, Burgos had some STDs. Is it gonorrhea and chlamydia at some point? So, player over here. Yeah, he was really a player, and he was suffering from those things. But we call him Dr. Snark, that witness on day 13, which we'll get to. But that was a good moment after hearing all of this. So Burgos texted a photo of his crotch, thankfully in uniform, without his utility belt on though, at 8:49 a.m., which was about 1 hour before the murders. And Grizelda and Dominic were murdered between 9:46 a.m. and 10:10 a.m. And at 9:32 a.m., Z said, "Please, you confused me with some other itch." And then she said, "Okay." And then at 9:39 a.m., he said, "Stop the tease. You left me wanting again." And then he gets out the vehicle to murder a mother and child, and he texted her later as well. Like by noon, he was texting her again, as if nothing had happened. We also heard texts between Burgos and other supervisors or Border Patrol agents, and we saw a video that Burgos recorded of how he treated his own son, which was absolutely heartbreaking. I actually made a YouTube short from that moment, but YouTube took it down because of how abusive Burgos is. That just tells you everything you need to know. It is timestamped though, so if you want to see day 9 in the afternoon, you can go and see that video. Viewer discretion advised. The defense's strategy was to imply that detectives got into Burgos' phone and messages before an official search warrant was issued, and that Burgos was concerned about Dominic's injury on March 25th, that he wasn't someone that could possibly do that. They've actually been very busy trying to debunk the March 25th, 2018 incident where Dominic was injected into his leg, which they thought initially was like a spider bite or an insect sting or something, but the medical examiner, Dr. Stern, that the defense had tried to impeach, if you remember from the summary from week 1 and 2, yes, she said that it's not from a bite, that was from an 18-gauge needle. And they did find 18-gauge needles in Burgos' gym bag in his lunchbox. So not a used one that would have been discarded, because everyone says, why can't they test the needle and find out what he injected into Dominic? We still don't know. We might never know. So we also learned about Burgos' behavior at home. I mean, beyond the video of how he talked to his own son. And here I put the purple ribbon for DV awareness, because just based on this, we were like, whoa, okay, he's a DV aggressor. Because of all the holes that he punched into the walls. And lead detective Raimundo Garcia said that this seems like someone's fist going through the walls. So you can only imagine the environment that his wife and kids were living in. So those are the pictures. Unfortunately, in day 9 afternoon, I had edited out, cut out a lot of waffle time, because in this trial, if you've been there live with us every day, it is a very tardy trial. They are always late, and there's always extremely long breaks. And I'd actually cut out a lot of waffle, and in error, cut out this little portion before arguments and sidebar, little portion, more of that, where they showed these photos. No wonder none of us could find it. But I eventually found it on KGNS News. So here's the screenshots for you of the holes that Burgos had been punching into the walls at home. Day 10 morning was the cross-examination still, because the defense was not letting it go. You know, sometimes they were also very long-winded, okay? Cross-examination of Detective Garcia continues. Boggs was trying to prove that Burgos cared about Dominic and was not trying to control the situation, that he was the one that said that Dominic could get necrosis and all of that. So if you want to see all of that, it's timestamped for you. The next witness was Jose Luis Macias, a mental health assessor at the Webb County Jail. So like we saw in Letitia Stark's trial, when she got to the jail, her mental health had to be assessed, and they normally check if one needs to be on suicide watch or not. And he said that Burgos was not depressed, delusional, made good eye contact, and he expressed that he was upset and embarrassed. Now, we've seen already from the dashcam videos and the interrogation, all that Burgos was not remorseful. And he's still to this day, does not seem remorseful. And even the phone calls we heard, he says he hasn't confessed because he didn't do anything. So there's that. But he's always expressed embarrassment. And he really only cares about his image. You can hear it in the emails, in the calls with his mom. You can just hear that the whole time he's worried about how he's being perceived. So, shall I say it? It's Narcissism 101. As we loosely armchair diagnose. I'm not actually trying to armchair diagnose, but as a community, we're all like, oh my word, what a narcissist. He really just wants to be perceived as I don't know what. Moving on. He initially seemed to want to be on suicide watch, and he got his little green gown, but then he complained about being cold and having no mattress, and then he signed a contract to say that he's no longer ideating and aliving himself, and so he told the mental health assessor, Jose Luis Macias, that, yeah, no, he's fine. He won't again. But then at another time, when Jose Macias went to assess him, he was back in his green gown and he was back on suicide watch. So he just played the system. Burgos tends to do that, which is why a lot of people would prefer him to get the death sentence over life without parole, because life without parole, it's got so many privileges, benefits, all that they think that he will really work that system. In my opinion, no matter what he gets, there's going to be inmates there that he'll need to interact with. And I think life without parole might be harder for him to survive based on who he'll need to survive, if you know what I mean, especially because he's a baby killer as well. So Burgos complained about moving to a new cell once he was found guilty of the murders. Yes, we found that out as well, that he was complaining, which again reminds us of Letitia's stuff, where it's like they complain in a way that they think it's like a resort. Like, I don't like it. I don't want to move rooms, okay? I just want to stay in my room. But, like, that's not how it works. So, on day 10 in the afternoon, witness Dana Sarkis from the Webb County Jail was on the stand. She monitors phone calls and emails of inmates. And we heard a lot on this day. So, you definitely need to check this day out. We heard calls between Burgos and his wife. Burgos sounded controlling, abusive, narcissistic, and he also said that Amy can move on and marry someone else. The way that he talks to her is terrible. And he said, I don't have a lot of time on the phone, and you want to act like that? He actually got her to apologize. When they flipped the script? Oh yeah, we heard that. We also heard a call between Burgos and his mother from July 5th, 2023, where he craps on her for being in court and being like, no one knows you. I'm important, not you, okay? You can't just be there. So that was thankfully translated, because that was in Spanish, by quite a few Grizzlies that had emailed me, and we did read through that. So on day 10 afternoon, if you go to the timestamps, you'll see where we actually read through the translation of that call. Then Dr. Gupta took the stand, a defense witness, and he was really speaking about Burgos's testosterone prescriptions, and he had 2 other medications as well. There was a whole deep dive, and he was just saying that he wouldn't ordinarily prescribe it for that long, for 2 years, or, Burgos seemed to have it for way longer than anyone else, and seemed to have been abusing testosterone and the other medications, which actually kind of backfired as a defense witness. Anyway, what was really funny is what I wrote there is when they asked Dr. Gupta to identify Burgos in court, and we know one of the defense attorneys is called William Boggs, and he said, yeah, he's over there. I think he's sitting next to Willie. And then Boggs was like, Boggs. And then we all just laughed, and we were like, oh, okay. That was a good moment. Sometimes there's good moments in the very grim nature of these topics. There's some moments that at least get us all through the trial. And so, yeah, that was one of them. So go and check that out as well. And then day 11 morning, there was a defense witness, Dr. Howard Campbell, who studies Border Patrol culture. And he talked about the machismo, like macho, right, vibe with Border Patrol agents. And it really just went nowhere. As much as he's got a lot of experience, it seemed pretty irrelevant to the case. And in any case, after that, yes, the state rested. Everything was a little bit out of order there. We like things in order and in a sequence here. Things were getting a little out of order there, but at that point, yes, the state rested, even though this was a defense witness. Day 11 afternoon was all hell. I don't know how to describe it. It was terrible. Defense witness Dr. Cunningham was on Zoom as a witness, and like he took up most of day 11 afternoon and day 12, large portion of, and we got to see his 100 plus, I always joke and say 188,000 page presentation on why Burgos would not be a threat if he got a life without parole sentence. So it seemed very much like he's against the death penalty, which people can be, of course, but like as a witness, it was just dragged on and on and on. It was TMI. The jury must have been absolutely exhausted. I mean, we were all exhausted, and we're like, no, we were counting the pages. It was just too much. And then he's never met Burgos in his life. He literally just watched a bit of the interrogation tape. He looked at what the defense wanted him to see, and then he made his extraordinary presentation on why Burgos would not be a threat for future violence or escape or whatever if he got life without parole. So on day 12, the morning session lasted all of 10 minutes. A juror had actually contracted COVID and needed to be released. An alternate was chosen. And fortunately, it was a hot mic moment, and the judge said that alternate juror's name, so they had to choose another one. In the afternoon, the defense filed for a mistrial based on our coverage of the case. And I would highly recommend going to check that timestamp out, because we were like, what? So they were saying that we put overlays over the trial, and we're covering it, and we're commenting on it, and it was silly. It was very silly. But go and check that out if you want to see what was said there. And I'm saying our coverage because there's not many YouTubers that they are referring to, right, covering the case. It was definitely, about us. If you watch it, you'll know what I mean. So moving on. The judge denied the motion, and that was such a classic moment because, like, if you're filing for a mistrial, your motion is denied. And the way that he said it was so good that I clipped it for you on one of those YouTube shorts, so go check that out. And then Dr. Cunningham was back on the stand, and we were like, no. And that was for, yes, most of the afternoon. And then the witness was passed, which was the best moment ever. Just like, finally, oh my word. So, okay, after that, witness Commander Hernandez took the stand to testify that Burgos was well behaved in the jail. So I'm just saying it like that because that's pretty much what the defense's strategy was to prove what a good boy he has been in jail. Day 13 in the morning, same thing. Witness Idalia Elizondo from the Webb County Jail testified that Burgos had been very respectful, polite, etc. in jail. So well done, he's been a good boy. We don't care, just can't wait for sentencing, right? Okay. Day 13 morning, Burgos' dad actually testified off camera, and the defense had made quite a fuss, especially with that mistrial filing, of witnesses being intimidated and people looking up their addresses and things. And I have not done that, so I don't know if that's from Facebook or what they're talking about. But anyway, Burgos' dad testified for the defense, and he told us, I'm just going to say things very bluntly, okay? I'm giving you the summary here. He told us lots of sob stories about Burgos, and it was a lot of people, especially in this community, we were all reacting like, who cares? Like, what? It doesn't excuse what he did. So it was all about his mother being, and we don't know because his mother's still calling him now in jail, and he's shouting at his mother. So they are in contact. But according to his dad, of which they've divorced, they got married really young. We heard how they got married, and that Burgos has a brother, and that Burgos got into the US Navy, and he graduated, and then he joined Border Patrol. And we just heard about his mother neglecting him and not giving him milk when he cried, and that he thought that his mother would be hurting, would hurt Ronald at some point. All of that. So he took the kids when they got divorced, and then his mother nurtured Burgos a lot, which Burgos did at some point say to Grizelda that it was actually on March 25th when he injected Dominic. He was giving a whole speech about he was raised without a dad, which that's a lie. But anyway, he was raised without a dad, and he's going to be there for Dominic, and that his grandmother raised him. So there must be some sort of attachment with his grandmother. So there was that. But anyway, District Attorney Isidro Alanis, he's so brilliant. He cross-examined Burgos' dad so brilliantly by highlighting that not once has Burgos' dad been out to where the murders happened, been to the memorials, or really shown the family any support, the victim's family. And he did say sorry, but it just seems like he's in complete denial, which that we understand, right? This is a lot to process, but it's been 5 years and he just sounds like he is in complete denial that Burgos, his son, could have done this. And he just said that, he said religious things, that he wouldn't hate the man, he hates the sin and all of that. So he just can't compute, he said, he just can't compute that his son did that. So he's still in the denial phase. Dana Sarkis was then back on the stand, and we heard again calls and emails between Burgos and his wife. We also heard emails between Burgos and his mother, and between Burgos and a female also called Z. I'm not 100% sure if it's the same Z, we think so, but anyway, so we heard that as well, and it was very interesting, but also just a load of, I don't know, cuck. A load of cuck. A lot of bullcrap, shall we say, because, oh my word, Burgos is like happy birthday to his wife, and then he goes off on conspiracy theories and, the spy balloons from China, and then Israel and the apocalypse and all kinds of stuff, which I just think is a way to manipulate and deflect and all of that. He's ministering to family members on the outside, telling them exactly how they should behave, telling his sons to stay lean, to eat protein, to do better than him, to excel, and just all of that, which is just horrible. So, Burgos's counsel, the ones that filed for the mistrial, cried, when he said that he had a dream about owning a boat, and he would call that boat second chance. I mean, we saw the empathy from some of the defense there. I get that they have a job to do, but that was like, whoa, you're actually crying that he wants a second chance in life. He was not going to get it. So, day 13 afternoon, some witnesses, they said, do not want to testify. There was a long wait for court to actually get going in the afternoon. The defense then rested, and then the state brought in a rebuttal witness, which was one of our favorite witnesses. And I say our because all of us as a community are reacting live to this, right? We call him Dr. Snark, but his name is Dr. Gonzalez. He's an expert in hormone therapy, and he talked about why Burgos would be on some of the hormones that he was taking, especially one that reduces estrogen, and that could be from the moobs that he may have had, and that, why he would take testosterone, and then also just snarked it up a little bit by revealing a lot about his medical records, including his STDs that he was treated for. That was a good day, because Burgos was so humiliated. Like, he really wanted to crawl under that table. Like, he could not handle this. So, love to see that. Love to see that with a killer. A mother and baby killer. I mean, so that is pretty much the summary of week 3. I hope that you'll check out some of the replays that you missed. I hope that this was helpful. And I will see you all tomorrow live. They said they're starting at 9:30, which is actually the normal time when they actually start. They normally say 8:45, but they only really get going at 9:30. So I could only assume that tomorrow we're only really going to get going at like 10, quarter past. But there will be jury instructions, probably victim impact statements, I would imagine is now the order of things, and then closing arguments, and then the jury will deliberate. So whichever order that happens in, I think it'll be jury instructions, closing arguments, victim impact statements, jury deliberates. Which I can't wait for. I can't wait for them to come back. We'll be waiting, we'll be watching, and then we'll be there together to hear when the verdict comes in. It doesn't matter really what time it comes in, day or night for me, because as you know, I'm 7 hours ahead of Laredo, Texas time. So for me, the trial day starts every day around 4 or 5 p.m., somewhere there. And we go until 1 in the morning or so, sometimes 2 in the morning, especially if we have members-only streams and things. So let's see what time that verdict will come in. I look forward to it. Thank you so much. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, hit the bell, set it to all so that you do get notified when I am going live or when I make these summaries for you or YouTube shorts or community posts. I'm also following many other cases, so make sure you check those out if you like the way that I present true crime. If you do like it, please like and share this episode as well. You can use the hashtag Ronald Anthony Burgos Aviles Trial or Laredo, Texas or Grizzly True Crime. And if we could really get justice for Grizelda and Dominic going as well as a hashtag, that would be great. Because that hasn't really gotten momentum on social media yet. So that would be great as well. Because that is why we follow these cases and these trials. We want to see the killer held accountable. We want to see justice for Grizelda and Dominic and for their families. And man, it's been a very intense trial, very intense emotionally, and I thank you all for watching it with me. I will see you in the next one. Stay safe.